another aspect here that is probably worth talking about is gold. And
Yeah.
Granite Shares has BAR, BAR, as a ticker symbol that kind of tracks gold. And this is yeah the way that gold has been acting. And I do have a position myself in gold. Yeah, how do you think this is useful for people right now to think of gold? It can be certainly a volatile instrument, and you always have your gold bugs and your gold bears, the people that won't touch it. But what's kind of your take on where gold stands right now?
I think gold has been sending a warning for quite some time now. So remember that for those of us in the kind of gold industry, when gold went through 2000, that was seen as a massive number, for the gold market. And, now to think that we're knocking on the door of 3,000 an ounce, with interest rates as high as they are on a relative basis is sort of would be almost inconceivable a few years ago. So what's changed? I think that gold is feeding off a lot of the sensitivities that we're seeing in the equity market and the fixed income market. In other words, the uncertainty, the more that stocks tick higher, is certainly feeding into the gold market. The debt and deficit situation, which is a big part of the tariff conversation, is a big part of the uncertainty, again, feeding the gold trade. And particularly this idea that while the U.S. is certainly going to attempt to make some progress on the debt and the deficit situation, with what Musk is doing with Doge as one example, there's a lot of major countries in the world that are really in a tough spot with debt and deficits and don't seem to be really going in the right direction, or are perhaps even unable to go in the right direction. And so gold has become that hedge against these kind of problems. And I would sort of say that in the same breath, you're starting to hear more and more Bitcoin being mentioned.
Hmm.
But this idea of an asset that's not correlated to the stock market, to the bond market, to government debt, other issues that are really sort of plaguing the business cycle and ordinary stock and bond investors. You're starting to see more traction, I think, from people saying, hey, you know what, what's the value of just holding a percentage of my portfolio that, in the case of gold, will never go bankrupt, something that doesn't have credit and counterparty risk. It's just a lump of metal, doesn't have a correlation longer term to the stock or bond market. And I think you're starting to see that in terms of the premium that people are finding in gold.